Big problems ahead for Kamala. You can see the Silver Bulletin from natesilver.net. He came out, he says, things are looking a little bit rough for Kamala. Now, he's not going to come out and say it like that, but we'll take his unstated words for what he actually means. He says the mistakes here could cost Harris the election. A lot of people are very upset about this. There was also this New York Times Siena poll that came out that looks like this one, and this is causing a lot of ruckus out there. So it says New York Times Siena poll, September 3rd to September 6th. If the election were held today, who would you vote for? Whoa! 48% for El Trumpo and only 47% for Kamala. And we're asking ourselves, wait a minute. I thought that she was a historic candidate, once in a lifetime opportunity, and that this was not just a giant fake climax from the left. And so they're getting a little nervous out there. I got a bunch of clips on this. Former President Trump and Kamala are now entering the home stretch. Debate is tomorrow, baby. And we're going to be streaming that puppy here. You better believe it. And says Ms. Harris now faces a sizable share of voters who say they still need to know more about her. Now, she has released a new policy page. The Washington Post is talking about it. But a national poll has come out saying 48 to 47% in favor of Trump, within the margin of error. And now all the Biden people are looking back at Kamala and they're saying, we told you so. Maybe you should have stuck with Joe. So what if he can't think or speak or talk or walk? That's good enough for Democrats. Now, the national results are in line with polls in 7 battleground states that are going to decide the presidential election, where Harris is tied with Trump or holds slim leads, according to some averages. Taken together, they show a tight race that remains either candidates to win or to lose. So here are some of those numbers. Now, it's interesting because these actually don't look like they favor Trump. Kamala is up in Wisconsin, 50 to 47. Kamala's up in Michigan, 49 to 47. Pennsylvania, 49 to 48. Kamala on top, tied in Nevada. Georgia tied. North Carolina's tied. And Arizona's tied. All right. Now, over 8 weeks remain, just a bit over, but both candidates have scant opportunity to shift this. How this Times Siena polls compare, you can see Times Siena, they say with all of that, and maybe it's because they're just weighing in some of the Trump underperforms in the polls general situation that exists. And we've seen that before, right? Hillary was like a 92% odds at winning. And so we see other polls, polling average 49 to 47, 48 to 47, and more. So it is not what they want to see. Now, he says for a second time this week, this is Nate Silver. He says, yeah, this came out this morning, not looking good. It's a good survey for Trump. He's up 1 or 2 points among likely voters. Now, ordinarily, I wouldn't think it's worth to write a story on this, he says, but this one merits an exception. He says, first, New York Times is our second highest rated pollster. So there's a real lesson here in the dangers of poll cherry picking. Democrat partisans have been blowing up my mentions on X. He's like getting irritated, complaining about which polls aren't included. Now, usually that stuff comes out in a wash through things like model adjustments, but this is a large sample size. It's a very recent poll. Fourth, the poll provides trend lines for comparisons. The numbers are just a bit worse for Harris than previous national surveys. And fifth, the Siena poll tends to singularly drive the media conversation, right? So everybody's going to go, uh-oh. He says, yes, I know it's just one poll. A series of YouGov polls also out this morning also found a tie in Pennsylvania. Harris leading by 1 in Michigan, which he should be up much higher than that, and 2 in Wisconsin, is consistent with it being a toss-up. But the Times poll has reduced Harris's lead to 2.5 points. And yeah, we're seeing the trend come back down. You can even see it right there on the screen, coming back down. And just a lot of it was inflated, just like her country and her head. It is not reality. There are a few moments from the debates that we'll never forget. They're saying in 2000, right, there could just be one phrase in here that just takes Kamala out. Could happen any minute. Flip-flopping. She's been getting some criticism a bit from her non-answers thus far. And the Washington Post came out with this story today. They said, hey, look, wow. Kamala came out And her policy is now on her website. Wow, that's incredible news. She's running for president. Great to hear it. Says Vice President Kamala posted a list of her policy positions on her website on Sunday. Wow, that's great because she's running. And what's interesting is the page outlines her agenda on the economy. On each issue, the campaign contrasts her positions with the agenda of Project 2025, which is not Trump's policy at all. So great. So it just shows you how pathetic they are, to be quite honest with you. They don't even have policy that goes against Trump. They have a policy that goes against Project 2025, which Trump has disavowed repeatedly. So they have to make it up. Dang, his policies are really good. Like, we like those. We can't steal all of them. Like, we stole the no tax on tips. We stole some other stuff. So we just keep stealing stuff. They're going to think we stole everything. That's terrible for us. So what should we do? I know. Since his policies are so good, let's make up some fake, really bad policies that aren't his and blame him for those. And then we'll run against those. And they're all like, wow, that's so smart. Our voters are idiots. So they'll believe it. So yeah, do it. Do it hard. So then they're going to contrast it against Project 2025, which they warn could be a blueprint for Trump's second presidency, even though it's not on his website. It's on Project 2025's website. Trump has distanced himself from it, and I think the project has wrapped itself up. The page says Harris's economic policies are aimed at lowering the cost of everyday working needs, even though she's increased it. She wants to build on Joe's economic agenda, which has been terrible. She's going to extend all Americans the cap on prices of drugs. Okay. And there's going to be more, her tax policy and so on and so forth. She's getting raked over the coals over a lot of it. Trump campaign attacked Harris on August, right? It's always an attack on her. In August, for not having a policy page on its campaign website. Now she's got one. Trump has a bunch of stuff, seal the border, end inflation, and many other things that make a lot of sense to many Americans.